Hello everyone, this is Philip from EclipseSource, your technology partner and service provider for building custom IDEs, specialized tools, and domain-specific modeling environments. In today's video, I would like to show you how to build your custom GitHub Copilot with Theia. So that means building your specialized AI tool from scratch in under 30 minutes. Let's get started. Before I switch directly into the IDE though, let me just give you a little bit of context what I even mean with specialized tool. So a specialized tool is an application that helps domain engineers or experts in their daily tasks. Those persons often need to work with very complex data models, analysis tools, code generators, and so on. And we can help them being more efficient by providing them intuitive ways of interacting with those underlying tools and models by providing them, for instance, diagram editors, visualizations, domain-specific languages, or configuration tools. In this particular video, though, we don't want to focus on how we build such diagram editors, configuration tools, etc., but we really want to focus on equipping those types of tools with customized and specialized AI capabilities. So what are the building blocks that we will be using today? As a tool platform, we will be using Eclipse Theia. If you don't know Eclipse Theia, I will also link an introduction video of Theia so that you can get an overview of what you can use Eclipse Theia for and how it works. Just for this video as a purpose, basically in a nutshell, Eclipse Theia is an open source tool platform for building custom tools and specialized IDEs. So essentially it's a tool infrastructure that you can just use and pick and choose different generic tool capabilities like a file explorer, code editor, terminal integration, and so on to be included in your particular tool. And then you build your domain-specific tooling business logic on top with custom editors, custom workflows, custom tasks, and so on to help your particular domain users. One part of this platform in Theia is called Theia AI, and this is really a framework that allows you to integrate AI into such domain-specific tools and adapt really the AI capabilities to the specific requirements of your particular tool. And that's essentially the platform that we will be using. We also will use Theia IDE as an IDE to build this application along with its AI capabilities, but essentially you can use any IDE that you like for building Theia-based applications. So what are the steps that we will be doing? So first of all, we need to create a basic Theia application from scratch. That's basically the starting point. Then we will initialize it with a custom AI chat agent that we can then use and evolve during this video. Then we will be also adding custom business logic. Basically just now we need an example for a domain-specific tool to work with. In this particular example, we chose just a simple domain model where you can design task flows and allocate those tasks on specific nodes, but that's really just a stand-in for whatever domain-specific functionality you might want to build. And then we will equip this AI agent that we've integrated before with custom AI tools that allow the AI to interact with your custom domain model in order to, for instance, create tasks and create flows, allocate them on specific nodes, answer questions about, for instance, which output is produced by which task and which node can handle which task and so on. So basically allowing your domain users then interact with that domain model more efficiently. So without further ado, let's get started. Now we've switched over to our IDE. So you see it's empty now. There is nothing in the workspace yet. And in order to get an initial Theia-based application, you can use the Yeoman generator that helps you really to get started very quickly. I will link the Theia generator and how you can basically install it and use it down below. But essentially, once you have installed it, you can just run Yo Theia extension, and this will then ask you which type of extension you want to build. Here we want to build a Theia application with just a Hello World extension, and we will just give it a name like Flow AI Assistant. Hit enter, and this will create the basic application for you. So as you can see, essentially it's a mono repository with one package JSON in the root and one README here, which also details how you can now run and install this application here. And there is essentially three important parts here. First of all, this is our first extension that the generator just created for us, with the Hello World example. And then you have two other folders, browser app and Electron app, which essentially are bundles of this app that you can then build in order to ship your application as a browser application or as an Electron application. We will be just using the browser application for now. So let's just build the browser application in the next step by running yarn build browser, and this will really build the backend. And once that's then done, we can just run yarn start in order to basically start the backend and connect with the browser to it. I will just show this to you quickly so that you can see how a bare bone Theia application looks like. This takes a few seconds to build. And once that's done, I can just start essentially here the backend. And now let me just switch over to a browser like this one. And now we can just go to localhost 3000. And here we have our basic Theia application. So there is nothing really in there. There is by default the file explorer here. And there is here a terminal integration, but you can get rid of that if you don't like it, and so on. So that's really the starting point. Now, for a domain-specific tool, you would now maybe start to add custom tree editors, to add custom editors here in the center, maybe add more tasks to it, a debug integration or whatnot. But that's really not the scope of this video. We now just want to add an AI capability into it. So let's look into that. Let's go back to the IDE. So as a first step, let's just cancel here this running backend. I've prepared a prompt so that we can really very easily add this agent. Let me just show you this prompt. We will be using the AI capabilities that are integrated into the Theia IDE. In particular, we will be using a coding assistant, which is called @coder here in Theia. And as an LLM, we will be using Claude Sonnet 3.7. And the prompt that I've prepared really is just basically providing a little bit of context on how you create an agent. So that's really code that I just copied over from the Theia code base directly. So essentially the code that is underlying here, you can access it too, it's open source. And this basically shows the AI how to create an agent, how to create the prompt template, how to register then this new agent into your front-end module. And then here we define the task. And this task is really, please create a new agent with the name Flow that supports us in this domain-specific tools for managing tasks and so on. Add this agent as a default agent so that we really only have this single agent that is activated by default in our chat view. And then there is a few things that I don't want it to do, like I don't want to split the prompt templates from the agent, because this makes it later on easier for me to show what it generated, and we don't want to have any tool functions for now. Obviously, we also need to add a little bit of dependencies, and those are essentially the dependencies that you need to add to your Theia application in order to get the AI support up and running. So that's essentially the core, the chat integration, and we need some sort of LLM. And for this particular example, I will be using OpenAI. But there is also many other LLM providers that you can just integrate here, or you maybe also write just your own LLM provider if you have something very custom. So let's just copy this whole prompt, copy it into Theia Coder, hit enter and see what will be happening. So as you can see, now this coding assistant within Theia will be looking at our workspace, essentially trying to understand what is the structure, where is our extension that it needs to needs to extend, and so on. And then it will start to generate files. So first of all, it looks like it basically added the dependencies that we need. So it went into our extension here, into the package.json, and added the dependencies that we now want to have included. Now it will generate here our chat agent. Let's have a quick look at it. Right, so first of all, it defines here a system prompt for this chat agent, which is basically just, you're an AI agent integrated into Theia IDE, okay, specialized in supporting flow-based programming, whatever. So that's basically, we didn't really define it, so that's what the AI just came up with. So you have in your control what the system message is here, and then it will basically create one class which implements your chat agent. basically by giving it a name, defining which language model it needs, and then referencing the system prompt we mentioned up here before. Okay, that looks good. And finally, it generated a change in the front-end module. So let's have a look at that. So the front-end module is also part of our extension. And just if you're not familiar with Theia, Theia is built in a way that is very extensible, and that extensibility mechanism is based on dependency injection. So essentially, you can think of your Theia application as a set of extensions, and each of those extensions provide dependency injection containers that can either use contribution points like here, like an agent or a menu contribution, to add your domain-specific stuff. And that's really the mechanism that you use to extend your Theia application by binding your custom implementations to specific extension points. But you can also use this dependency injection mechanism to replace existing implementations within the core platform. And with that, you have full control over everything. So let's have a look at how we registered our chat agent. So first of all, we instantiate this flow chat agent that we've defined in this other class. Then we bind it to AI agent and chat agent to make it available to the system. And then it configures it as the default agent. That looks perfect. So let's apply all of these changes. Looks good. And since we have added new dependencies, we also need to run yarn install and then rebuild our browser application. So let's start those two commands and see what happens now in our application. This will take a few seconds. All right, so let's have a look. Yeah, we might need to adapt this system prompt then later on for a real application, but for the purpose of this video, this should be good enough. So it should be finished in a second. Yep, now it's done. Now we can start again the browser backend and go back to our Theia application here and pull this over into our main window. Okay, so what happened now? Nothing changed on the first glance, but we now have this new AI chat window here that we can enable. This basically came in because of the dependency that we added, but we can now ask something here, maybe hello, who are you? Hit enter, and now we see that our flow agent that we've registered is already responding, and it's responding us with basically whatever we specified in the system message. So that seems to work. And the nice thing here is this is entirely under your control. So there is no other chat agents here. There is basically just your agent, and whatever the user enters here is basically always you who will be able to respond with your domain-specific agent. So you can really customize the behavior to your requirements. Good, so that worked, this first step. Let's just stop that here again. Clear. So now we want to go to our next step. And this next step is essentially implementing our business logic and then making this business logic accessible to our flow agent that we've just created. So again, I've prepared a prompt for that. So basically, with the help of ChatGPT, I just generated a data model that we want to use to represent the domain-specific concepts or the example of the domain-specific concept for this video. For instance, like a task definition. Here is a TypeScript interface, the inputs and outputs of these tasks, then some node definition and so on. And then I gave it also a little bit of example how this will look like. So that's basically just our domain model. And now I want to equip basically our Flow AI agent with the necessary capabilities to interact and modify this domain model. And for this particular video, there is other approaches as well, but for this particular video, we want to do that using tool functions. So essentially, a tool function is a mechanism or a piece of code that the LLM basically can call in your code. So the LLM decides when to call specific functionality in your tool, and then you can basically implement those tool functions programmatically, for instance, creating a task, updating it, and so on. And here what I provide is just a definition of tasks that I want to have. It's like delete task, get task by node, and so on. So that's basically the functionality that we want to expose to the LLM. The same for node functions. And then similar as before, I just went into the Theia code base and basically copied the tool function implementation for workspace functions, because in this particular example, we just assume that we put this domain model into our workspace of the Theia-based application that we have here. And so it's rather similar. So I basically just went into the Theia code base and copied this implementation just to give the LLM some guidance on how to implement that, for instance, using the Theia file service and so on. And as I said, that's completely open, so you can do exactly the same. And then in the end, here is just also some information on how to register it and how you use it then in, how you register it then for your chat agent. And then I define just a task, create this data model that I've just shown above, implement all the tool functions that I've defined above, and then add those tool functions into the system prompt template of our flow chat agent, so that basically this flow chat agent can access those tool functions as well to enable users interacting, creating, and analyzing tasks defined with their workspace. So let's just copy that now, switch into a new chat and hit enter. And now it again starts working on the task by first looking at the workspace state. It reads relevant files. Let's check what it actually reads. Oh, we can click here. Okay, it read now our agent. And here it started to read the front-end module, so that makes sense to get some context here. And then basically it will start generating files. So first of all, it seemed to have generated the data flow model. Yeah, that's basically the TypeScript interfaces that I asked the AI to create for me. Nothing surprising here. And now it probably works on the tool functions. Now it's done, so let's have a look at it. So what did it do? Okay, it created a base class for all tool functions. That's clever, because essentially they are all very similar in the sense that they access the file system. So we, for all of them, need the file service to access files and the workspace service to ask for workspace locations and stuff like that, like the workspace root. And then there is some helper methods here to basically get the files and read them and write them and check whether they exist or even delete them. That makes sense. And then, it basically implemented all of the tool functions that we defined before, like the list function, list tasks function, get task function, and so on. And while this is generating, looks good. I will already basically apply all the changes and start the build to save some time. We are on the clock eventually, right? So let me just yarn and yarn build browser, hit enter here. Okay, and while this is building, we can have a look at the generated tool functions a little bit more in detail. So how to actually add a tool function. A tool function always needs to implement the tool provider interface, which basically defines that you need to provide one tool. And a tool is essentially a JSON object that contains a name, a description. This description is very, very important, obviously, because it's also what the AI will use to decide when to call this tool. And then it implements a handler. And this handler is really just your implementation that will be invoked when the LLM decides to invoke this tool. So it's really implemented based on the methods that we've seen before. Here in this case, to go into the directory task definitions and obtain all files with JSON, and then basically read it, add it to the list, and then essentially return the list. And this list is then handed over back to the LLM. Here in this case, we don't have any parameters, but of course you can have tool functions with parameters. In this case, you just need to basically define them here. For instance, here we provide an ID parameter that the LLM needs to specify when calling this tool. And this is here done with JSON schema. And then when your tool is actually called, you basically pick out these parameters again, parse it to JSON, and then you get the parameters out, and then you can use that in your particular handler implementation. So that's great. So now let's start the browser in the meantime. We start it here. So once we have implemented all of these tool functions, there is just one step left, or two steps actually. First of all, let's have a look at the changes that the LLM did here. So first of all, you need to register those tool providers, essentially pointing to all of the classes that we've seen before. And the last step then is to link those or make those tool functions available to your particular agent. And this is really simple in Theia AI. Essentially, in the system message that we've seen before, you just need to mention them here by name. And once our framework essentially detects those occurrences of tool functions, it will automatically attach them to the requests that is sent to the LLM, so that the LLM is aware of those tool functions. And that's essentially already all we needed to do. So let's go back to the browser and see what actually we can do now. Oh. Okay, so here we have an empty workspace. That's good. Let's ask the chat agent now, create 5 new tasks to represent data processing. Let's see what happens. Yeah, now you see that's already the LLM calling tools, and you see automatically it will already create those files. So that's essentially the LLM called our tools, and basically then our tools created those files for us. So that's excellent. Let me also now ask create nodes to allocate all the existing tasks for me. Hopefully it will now again, it will now read, of course, all the tasks that we have already, and then in the end, create those tools for us. Let's see what it created. Okay, data processing capability. Okay, let's maybe just ask a question. Which task runs on node data processing? The task that runs on node data processing is titled data preprocessing. What's the ID of this task? Data processing task. Okay. Let's see if we find it. Yeah, here, data processing. Excellent. What outputs does it provide? Let's see if it gives us the correct one. The data I wasn't able to retrieve. Okay. Yeah, you see it's not always perfect. Let me just start a new one. Which output is task 2 producing? Output clean data set. Yeah, that seems to work. Which other task is consuming this output? Whoop. Is task 3 feature extraction. Let's see if that's correct. Yeah, now I got it right. Perfect. Yeah, that's essentially already it. We have here a domain-specific AI agent directly integrated into our domain-specific tool. We have basically the capability with this AI agent to interact with our custom domain model, analyze certain aspects of it, create artifacts within this domain model, and so on. And of course, we can now do much more on top of that. All right, so I think in this video we showed you how easy it is to get started with your specialized tool, with your specialized domain model and business logic, and to integrate an AI agent that can interact with this domain model and business logic to help your domain users efficiently work with it, create artifacts, analyze it, and so on in a very streamlined and optimized way. So there is no other AI agents or capabilities in the way of your user's workflow. You can really design from the start to the end how the user experience looks like by providing very tailored experiences and tool integrations, AI agents, and so on for your particular users and their specific requirements. If you want to get started with building your own AI-powered tool, feel free to reach out to us. We provide consulting, development, and training services at EclipseSource and are happy to help you also for your particular tool project. head over to Theia to try it out yourself. There is theiaide.org, which basically contains a lot of information on how to get started, a lot of documentation on all the different aspects that you can customize in a Theia-based application, as well as how you integrate AI capabilities. It's open source, it's vendor neutral, it's flexible, so I'm pretty sure it will be able to address the specific needs you may have for your specific domain. Make sure you subscribe for future videos and tutorials, because we will be, of course, this AI agent that we've built today is just a starting point. There is many more features that you can add. For instance, interactive flows, custom UIs and chat responses, context elements that you can drag into the chat UI and all of these things. And we are planning to release more and more videos to show you how to do exactly that. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.